Part 34. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 332. 331 Cut his head. What's okay, Yekong saw Baiji wearing it with her own eyes, knowing that it was charming to wear. Could this girl not wear it? Yekong said enthusiastically again, are you wearing it now? Would you wear it? Would you like me to teach you? Huang Zixuan was so ashamed that this black guy was really not ashamed. He made it clear that he wanted to take advantage and pretended to be so fake. Don't wear it. Hey, you don't understand this. In fact, the crystal clear silk socks are divided into front and back, inside and outside, left and right, and they are not so good when they are worn incorrectly. Yeda hooligan tempted again. But Cucumber Crush is not a fool. Someone's wolf-faced wolf face has been exposed. Huang Zixuan's face flushed, and he whispered a bit, and whispered, hey, let me have a look, it's not impossible, but what? A hooligan was already impatient, wow, drooling. As soon as Kuriko agreed, she quickly gave him a look at the calf. It was only the calf anyway, so it shouldn't matter. But as soon as Huang Zixuan wanted to speak, she heard a woman's cold humming, and then sternly sounded, Zixuan. What are you doing here? Not going back to practice? Oh, yes, Master. Huang Zixuan bowed her head, spit out her pink tongue at Yekong, and blushed into the ban. It happened that it was Yewu's good deeds that were the masters of Zhonghui and Huang Zixuan, and Cao Muse's ancestors. Cao Muse didn't have much dislike for Li Hizi, and he was joking about building the third palace and the sixth courtyard. But now when I look at it, I find that something is wrong. This black magpie embraced Zhonghui in public. Now he came to his own Dongfu to seduce Huang Zixuan and tease the little girl with a red flush on his face. This is too much. You are too bad. Li Hizi. What do you want to do in front of my Dongfu? Cao Mu asked coldly. Want to see the long black legs of Cucumber Crush? Yekong could not say this on his mouth, and replied, Uncle Yun, that day, after I competed with Qiuji and Guang, I had some misunderstandings with Sister Zhonghui, and I heard that Sister Zhong has not been able to close the door recently, so I wanted to explain it. But I didn't expect Sister Wu Yi to retreat, so I said a few words to Sister Huang Zixuan. A few words of greetings can make the little girl blush, your greetings are special. Cao Mu sighed coldly and said, hey, I warn you, Zhonghui and Huang Zixuan are my disciples, and I also hate men who stick to flowers and grass, so don't disturb your mind. The disciples are afraid. The disciples and the two sisters are just good friends. Everyone drinks tea, chats, and plays poker. They are like cabbages, innocently Yehalo said, now you're all right, I and they are really not intimate. However, Cao Muse was angry again. What do you mean? Could it be that you will not be able to abandon it all at once? Martial arts are held in public by you, do you want to be irresponsible? Yekong Meng said, the meaning of Uncle Shi. I don't want you to move your mind, it's not to keep your mind off, you should put your mind where it should be. Oh Yekong understood, dare to agree to hook up with Chili, not allowed to hook up with Cucumber Girl, alas, Cao Muse's purpose is also to make herself a shield. If she can no longer be a man, she is unwilling. The apprentice got a woman away, this woman is still her sister, well, this is really messy. Remember, Cao Muse stared at her eyes and warned, I welcome you to Wui, but if anyone else, be careful. Cao Muse said that she stretched out a small, straight hand like by Ame, set her palm into a knife, and fiercely performed a slashing action with a knife. Yekong was startled, cut chicken J. Cao Mose was surprised, what stuff was in this boy's head? How can anything be associated with those messy things? Cut his head, Cao Muse also flushed, roaring into the prohibition in a hurry. Entering the restraint, Cao Muse could not help but smile. Although this dead black egg is vulgar, it is a bit interesting, but, I just did the action of beheading, did the action of cutting that thing be the same? Yes, the man who is going to be stabbed should cut the thing that hurts the woman. Suppressed the idea, walked forward for a while, and suddenly remembered another thing and forgot to tell Li Heza to chase him, too lost identity, send a voice, but also afraid of being unclear, let Zhang Wuyi went to tell him. However, Zhang Wuyi is in retreat again. Must he let Huang Zixuan go and seduce him again? Cao Muse had no choice but to call Huang Zixuan. When Ye Kong came out of the inner hall, he went directly back to the small medicine garden. When he came to the medicine garden, he saw two Yun disciples waiting. It was Lan Ming and Ye Xian who came. Although Ye Xian was in the most secret place of the Fusee workshop, Lan Ming passed on the news through his disciples. The benefactor came, and of course Ye Xian came out in a hurry. As for the little steward in the workshop, that was also a disciple in the hall, admiring a black person, and Ye Xian was released at that time. So these two came so fast. Ye Kong saw them coming, and quickly opened the ban to say hello to them. As last time, the three sat down at the medicine booth in Lingtian, and Ye Kong took out the linguo extortion received from the Yi family. These spiritual fruits are the core disciples of the inner church, which are generally not common, let alone Lan Ming and others. Brother Li really has extraordinary means. I haven't seen any of these spiritual fruits. They are delicious, and delicious. Lan Tianming chewed 2 old meat jerky while drinking spirit wine, and his mouth was not idle. However, Ye Xian must be stubborn, chewing slowly and swallowing, embarrassed. Ye Kong laughed, just eat more. He took a few ice berries and stuffed them into Ye Xian. Take a few for your girlfriend. Ye Xian was a little embarrassed, but also wanted Dong a lover who hadn't visited the door, to taste it. After being persuaded by the blue sky, it was put away. Thank you, then Ye Xian said. Linguo put away. Ye Kong waved his hand, it's not worth it, don't take it seriously. To say thank you, but I want to thank you. Your 3 top quality blank note papers are expensive, and I feel ashamed. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 333. Good news. Ye Xian busily said, Brother Heza, don't say that. If you hadn't given your hand to help, Ye Xian had no place in Zhongli, what's the point? Ye Xian said again, don't let the seniors in the door know about this, otherwise the consequences will be unpredictable. If I heard that Brother Heza and Yi family were very familiar, I wouldn't dare give it to you. Blue Sky Ming took a bite of dry jerky, and limped up to ask, Kuriko talks, how many spirit stones did one sell? Ye Kong really didn't know how many spirit stones this piece had, perfunctorily said, several hundred pieces. Of course, Ye Kong couldn't tell them to use it himself. This matter had to be kept secret. If a little monk on the 7th layer of gas refining could pass down a high-level magic charm, it would be a sensation again. This guy refused to say, and Lan Tianming was also embarrassed to ask. After all, he had seen the boy look like a dead face. Don't look at this guy smiling now, if you turn your face, it will be so ugly and ugly. Then Lan Tianming said, Ye Xian, how did you get those 3 pictures? Don't hide them in the presence of Brother Li. Ye Xian flushed, after all, he stole it. Then I heard Ye Xinyi said that in the process of sending the rune paper to the outer warehouse last time, I didn't know what happened, and there were 3 more. At that time, Ye Xian was the delivery. Ye Xian is a very cautious person, and the delivery object is also the ancestor of Cao Muking who can't talk, so Ye Xinchen was afraid of mistakes, took a few on the delivery road, and found 3 more. He took a moment to think of it, and couldn't help but gave the extra 3 to him. Oh, it turned out that the calculation was wrong in the workshop. Ye Kong nodded again and asked, does this kind of error happen often? Xian laughed, how could that be, that happened just as well. Besides, that day, Cao Mooking's ancestor was in urgent need, and the core disciple in the workshop was not there, so I sent this honest man to send it, otherwise, how could it be possible for me to bring out the ban with hundreds of runes? Yekong could not help but nodded, this kind of thing really cannot let people who can't believe it, otherwise hundreds of runes of paper will be carried away, and Lu Ziyi will be big. After Xian finished, Lan Tianming shouted, you honest man is doing insincere things. Xian was blushed and said, I'm just going. It's not a steal to take the sheep by hand. Yekong resolved Xian's embarrassment and asked, where is the fusee warehouse? It seems that it is in Cao Mooking's ancestor Dongfu. She is the chief clerk of the court, and of course she distributes the rune paper. Xian replied. Oh my god. You wouldn't want to. Lan Tianming guessed yes, bold idea. In fact, 2 pieces of rune paper are enough for Yekong, and he really intends to come to the pot. But of course these cannot tell Lan Ming and others. Yekong laughed, I just asked casually, do you think my Li Hezi is bold enough to go to Cao Mooking Dongfu to steal rune paper? You do nt want to die, I still want to die. Xian also breathed a sigh of relief, and said, Brother Hezi, if you really have this idea, I advise you to cancel it. Last time I sent a rune paper to the past, I found that there was a lot of prohibition in that cave house. It was nt led by anyone, and I could nt find a place in a day. Oh, don't worry, I don't have that plan. Even though Yekong said so, he was still very unwilling. But this matter has to be discussed for a long time. There is no need to rush it. Even if it succeeds, Yun Fuzong is afraid that there will be some wind and rain, and he can't stay in Yun Fuzong. As he was talking, Yekong's brow suddenly moved, a friend is coming again, I'll go and lead her in. The visitor was the girl Huang Zixuan sent by Cao Mo's. Cucumber Crush was probably reprimanded by the master, and he didn't dare to be too close to someone, and followed Yekong in. Upon entering, the poor Cucumber Crush immediately threw Wenjing's camouflage aside. Wow! So many spiritual fruits. I just finished eating last time. Hey brother, how nice you are. Cucumber's eyebrows rushed up with bright eyes, laughing madly, putting a lot of spirit fruit on the table into a storage bag, and holding the blue sky. Ming and Xian sitting next to each other in shock. You girl, don't you see 2 living people sitting next to it? Huang Zixuan really didn't see the 2 living people. She was so excited to see so many fruit. Regardless of you, when she reached out to the blue sky to pick up the fruit, she was surprised to see that there were still 2 men. Yet. Yekong followed, and laughed, what are you doing? I'm entertaining friends, get it out soon, it seems you are right to marry a fruit tree in the future. Seeing that there were still 2 unfamiliar people, Huang Zixuan was also a little embarrassed, but she was a little bit reluctant to let her spirit fruit out. He's a brother. Cucumber Mime held a black man's arm in one hand and pressed the bag opening of the storage bag with the other hand. I was afraid that someone would grab her. Here again. Why do girls like to eat tofu in my arm? Yekong had no choice but to whisper to Huang Zixuan's ears, take it out, it's all for entertaining guests. You can't leave the table empty, rest assured, I'll keep your copy. Really? Huang Zixuan was happy when he heard this, and quickly put out all the linguo fruits on the table. In this way, Lan Tianming and Xian were embarrassed, and said quickly, it's all right, we men don't like to eat this at all, take the sister-in-law. Huang Zixuan's face flushed, and he stomped, what, he is my brother, just like my brother. Understand, Blue Sky Ming smiled with an immortal smile, the meaning is clear, what is the brother, brother? Seeing that Blue Sky sounded like that, Yekong knew what he was thinking, and kicked him angrily, less chaos. After Yekong spoke, he asked Huang Zixuan, what did you say your master would tell me? Huang Zixuan was also embarrassed to hold another black man's arm, let go of his arm and shake his hands and feet. Master asked me to come here and ask you to participate in this year's NAPI, and he must be in the top 100. Don't participate, Yekong answered without thinking. Are you okay to join that thing? Take a bottle of Keaton. I have a bottle, now I just need to practice in peace for a few years, and gave the building base in a low-key way. That is the greatest happiness. Why do I have the limelight? Master knows you answer like this, not motivated. Huang Zixuan snorted and announced an eye-catching news. Master said, this year's NAPI you must participate, and let me disclose a message to you. This time the top 100 will get a chance to improve significantly, and if you do well, you can build the foundation. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 334. Think about. In fact, the news was very secret. Cao Muse's ancestors specifically told him to keep it secret, but Huang Zixuan made a noise just now and forgot the stubble. Huang Zixuan's voice did not fall, and Lan Ming and Xianxia stared at each other. I was thinking, Li Hezi is now refining 7 layers of gas, and the foundation can be built in 1 second. What a great improvement! How could Lan Ming and Xianxia not want this opportunity? Yekong heard it and was surprised. Before, he heard the words from Cao Guang's mouth himself. At that time he paid attention, but the old man Cao Guang did not disclose. Substantially promote cultivation, no monk does not want to, even Yekong is not exempt. However, he is still very confused about the method of greatly improving cultivation. If it is a natural treasure like Lingquan, 100 people, this thing also needs too much. Yekong does not believe that Yun Fuzong can get such a spirit. Spring. Is it the top 100 that will give a panacea? Yekong asked quickly. Huang Zixuan noticed Lan Lanming and Xianxia. She said the news to outsiders and she regretted it. How can she reveal it again? Not a panacea. Huang Zixuan shook his head and refused to say any more. Yekong knew what she was thinking, and said, they are all their own and will never say anything. Lan Tianming and Xianxia also came together. Yes, Sister Huang, we swear to keep the secret absolutely. Huang Zixuan was relieved and said in a low voice, in fact, I am not quite sure, but from the words of my master, I heard that it seems that Zone Nei wants to practice a large array. After entering the array, the cultivation speed can be much faster. There is such a formation, Xianxia exclaimed. Of course there is. The person who cultivates immortals has the most emphasis on Reiki. If the Reiki is abundant, it is not difficult to speed up the cultivation speed in conjunction with elixir say. Huang Zixuan laughed, I also don't know, but the master said that after 3 years, Brother Li can definitely build a foundation, and Master Wu Yi will be. Huang Zixuan did not say, but the meaning is very clear. If Yekong built the foundation, and Zhang Wei is so good match, there will not be a phenomenon of male low and female high makes people laugh. But after hearing the news, Yekong frowned. What, 3 years as soon as you go in? But Lan Ming and Xianxia are full of joy. Lan Ming said, don't say 3 years, 10 years, 100 years is good. The formation method that greatly speeds up the practice, and you don't have to do any labor, just concentrate on practicing. What a great opportunity. No one can think of it. Yeah, Xianxia nodded, too busy. Can we also participate? Huang Zixuan said, the number of places to enter the large array is limited. In addition to the fixed arrangements, the other is the top 100 of Nuoboat this time. If you want to go in, you must go to Nuoboat. Originally, Lan Ming and Xianxia were not going to participate in Nuoboat. After all, the top 10 had the Zujidin reward. They were definitely not able to enter the top 10, and Zuji was far away from them. But now it's different, you can quickly practice in the formation method, which is too tempting for the monks, and the top 100 will do. Although they are not masters, the top 100 can still fight, not to mention, there are still many masters who did not know the news and did not participate. Don't spread it out, Huang Zixuan said. Rest assured, I wish no one knew it. The more people we know, the smaller we hope, isn't it? Lan Chenming laughed. What about you? Huang Zixuan asked Ye Kong again. This opportunity is good or not, but it takes too long to retreat for 3 years. He was going to take the time to return to Angguo to see if he could find any old women. Ye Kong was unsure of his mind. Anyway, there are still more than half a month for Napier, let me consider. Oh, thank you master for notifying me. Ye Kong thought about it. Huang Zixuan snorted, and turned to me, thank you, master, not me. Ye Kong laughed, and made a confession, Xiao Sheng thanks sister Huang Zixuan. Watching the two flirting with each other, Lan Tianming and Ye Ecchi hurriedly left. However, before leaving, Ye Kong took them, stuffed them with a spirit stone, and asked them to buy some magical instruments. In this way, the chance was much greater than the top 100. In addition, Ye Kong asked them to notify Zhang Wulin. No matter what others can do, Zhang Wulin and he are also brothers, so they must tell him. Lan Tianming and Ye Ecchi naturally went gratefully, and Ye Kong returned to the medicine garden. As soon as Ye Kong went back, Huang Zixuan was completely exposed, and stretched out a hand. What about the spiritual fruit prepared for me? Ye Kong laughed and patted the storage bag, and saw that there were more fruit on the table than before. Yeah. So many. Huang Zixuan stared in surprise and blinked a few times with long eyelashes, and asked, give me all. It was originally for you. Do you think I've eaten it for others? Don't I leave it to you? In fact, I have already prepared your part. Seeing so many spiritual fruits, I know this guy has thinking of myself. A little bit of depression in Huang Zixuan's heart suddenly disappeared, and he shouted, then you said earlier, there are still, I don't want to marry a fruit tree, I don't know Li Xiangziyu at all. Ye Kong sat down and laughed, yes? Maybe I really don't understand pity and love, but I still respect women very much. Unlike Kangnan mainland, it is common to give my wife away. Che, you don't seem to be speaking about the Kangnan continent. Are you an immortal from the upper realm? Huang Zixuan despised him mercilessly. Of course, the action of picking up the spirit fruit kept on. I'm not a fairy, I'm talking about my hometown. Speaking of the earth, Ye Kong couldn't help but have some emotions, looking at the distance, and sighing. There is a very busy street there, with shops on both sides. What are they selling? There are all of them. The buns that sell buns are very spicy, but they are really big. The uncle Cai, who wholesales small jewelry, is just too nice. Her wife always picks him out of the beauty shop by holding his ears, and open sister Li of the healthcare always puts the nasty audio tape on the boss to solicit customers. Listening to this dark-faced guy, Huang Zixuan couldn't help but sit down next to him, as if he could see the prosperity. Then what do you sell on the street? Huang Zixuan could not help asking. Ye Kong grinned, I don't sell anything, I charge for protection. What is the protection fee? Huang Zixuan looked at Ye Kong with a pair of black eyes, and when he explained the protection fee, the little girl said immediately, I said you are so vulgar, you are a scumbag. Yeah, it's called a gangster in ours. Ye Kong finished, his face sullen, pretending to be fierce. Hurry up and pay this month's protection fee, otherwise, I'm going to hit the shop. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 335. 3. For words and deeds. Big brother, you have to be tolerant for a few days. Recently, the business is light, and Rong Xianu prepares for a few more days. Huang Zixuan soon entered the play, said pitifully. No, Ye Kong stared. If you have money, give it to people. Huang Zixuan chuckled and asked, is it true, Heeze, do you charge for protection in your hometown? Honestly, how many girls did you harm? Ye Kong smiled bitterly, why not, it's not amusement for you. If I really happen to those women, do I want to collect protection fees in the future? We all have to pay the money, if the quota is not completed you will be kicked out of the street. Huang Zixuan nodded assuredly, then exhaled, I'm relieved. Ye Kong is depressed, what can you rest assured, you are not my wife, but how do I care? Huang Zixuan noticed his expression, flushed, and explained, I'm assured of Sister Wu Yi. Ye Kong only smiled when he heard this. He couldn't explain it, and he couldn't admit it. Although he and Zhang Wei hadn't reached that point, everyone just talked and was really pure. Of course, if it can be done, Ye Kong is also very happy, after all, the little pepper is also very cute, let's look at fate. Seeing Ye Kong grinning and sighing, Huang Zixuan felt very strange and asked, Brother He, do you really not like Master Wu Yi? She is one of Zhongli's best beauties. Otherwise, Cao Mooking's BT won't follow her. Not dislike, Ye Kong said for a moment, tell you a secret. Ah, what a secret, the girl naturally loves gossip, which is the same on any continent. When hearing the secret, Huang Zixuan immediately clings to it excitedly, waiting to hear the secret. Smelling the faint fragrance of virginity, Ye Kong called, and his ancestors were stupid, really stupid. Talking to a girl about other girls, and now there are more girls to say, it's really a taboo for soldiers. But the words had already been spoken, and Ye Kong didn't want to hide, saying, in fact, I already have 2 mortal wives and a private lifelong priest. Ye Kong originally thought that Huang Zixuan was going to scold him, at least he must blame him, but he did not expect that the cucumber crush came, what's wrong? Ye Kong suddenly realized that he was stupid. Polygamy is very normal in Kangnan mainland. Even mortal poor ghosts marry 2 or 3 wives is common, so Huang Zixuan was not surprised. It seems that the greatest happiness to the Kangnan continent is this. Ye Kong couldn't help but tease her, then I marry a few wives, don't you dislike it? Huang Zixuan listened to such meaningful words, and immediately flushed, and slammed Ye Kong with his elbow, it's none of my business, I'm your sister, and I'm not who you are. Well, my sister is good. Ye Kong smiled and embraced his little waist with love. Huang Zixuan twisted and gave her a white eye, and said, but don't tell me master, master and everyone else is fine, just don't look at the man towards the twilight. If she knew, you would be miserable. Cao Mooking wants to marry 3 wives. Why didn't your master try to find her? The two said that they were depressed. Huang Zixuan's personality was also very hearty, and he didn't like this indecisive atmosphere. He waved and said, forget it, don't say that, anyway, as a good sister of martial arts, as your good sister, I am strongly support you. Thank you, you are really my good sister. In order to express my brother's gratitude to you, let me send a fiery hug, a wolf suggested without losing the opportunity. It's a shameless dude, this can all take advantage. Huang Zixuan quickly blocked the bear hug, and her eyes were bent with a smile. Hey brother, who are we with? This kind of ostentation is avoided, if you really want to thank, then send your sister a woman's inner shirt you invented. Ye Kong could not help but sigh, talented person, his sister is also a good hand, dare to wait for himself here. Oh, my sister wants a bra. This is not a big deal, but, that thing varies from person to person. Calculate the size according to your size, and the cup shape. Or, let your brother measure it for you. Ye Kong said very enthusiastically. Heeze, I have already prepared for the sister, how can I bother you? Huang Zixuan blinked very politely. Dare to be prepared. Yeah, someone helpless. It seems that Cucumber Crush is not a fuel-efficient lamp. It's not troublesome. If you need to measure the length or depth again next time, give it to your elder brother, who will bring a ruler with him, Yekong said shamelessly, and thought, oh, you just now say let me see the silk socks? I almost forgot. Chairman Mao taught us to do what we say, and promised to do it. Huang Zixuan chuckled. This black guy always liked to talk nonsense, but he could understand it, and he was not bored with him at all. Hey brother, I promised you, but before I went out, the master taught me that a girl can't let a man take advantage, so I won't show it to you. Yan gnashed his teeth and said, listen to Chairman Mao, speak and act. Huang Zixuan also showed no weakness, listen to master, don't let men take advantage. Yet a rogue had nothing to say, only shook his head and sighed, well, in fact, I just want to see how you wear it and help you correct the bad habits in wearing socks. Since you think I'm taking advantage, then forget it. You want to take advantage. Huang Zixuan pouted and made a face, but suddenly lifted a straight jade leg on the right, resting on Yekong's leg. Master said, you can't take advantage of a man, but you are my gangster, not a man. Yekong fainted. Laozi was no longer a man in the blink of an eye. This logic is ridiculous. But since Cucumber Crushes change their minds, it doesn't hurt to be a man occasionally. Huang Zixuan was holding his little feet, and his heart thumped. Before going out, the master also reprimanded himself not to be too close to him. Why couldn't I bear it when I was with Brother Xianxia? The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 336. Blackmailed. Huang Zixuan quickly retracted his feet. Okay, I have already seen it. No, Sister Xianxian, I'm not looking at your feet, but I'm looking at your socks. I've only looked a little now. Huang Zixuan didn't expect Brother Xianxia to grab his foot, and he responded so big. He was a little scared and didn't dare to stay longer. In the end, he dropped a sentence, hey brother, you must participate in NAPI, build a foundation soon. Huang Zixuan doesn't mean that you build a foundation, I'll just follow you. It is hoped that after Yekong builds the foundation, he will be able to enter the inner hall, and then he can meet with them every day. However, Yekong still couldn't let it go. It wasn't because he was indecisive, but he didn't come out for 3 years. Is it too long? Also, is there any conspiracy for Cao Guang's guy? If you go in, what kind of battle can't you get out of? Yekong thought about it for a long time, but in the end, he still couldn't refuse to greatly increase the temptation of cultivation. His 5-element ascension was originally a method known for slowness. Layer is a little more than 2 layers. However, the slower the cultivation of the immortal, the more aura you need. If there are no chances, you must achieve great consummation for 5 years. Although Ye has a lot of opportunities, but that thing is uncertain, you don't expect it, you meet it all the time, if you expect it, it won't come. So Yekong thought about it, and finally decided to join in and seize this opportunity. As for whether Cao Guang set a trap, Yekong felt that it was impossible. If Cao Guang's cultivation was to catch himself, would he still play these conspiracies? Also, as a patriarch's head ancestor, the 500,000 spirit stones are not a big number for him, and he can't make trouble for himself. With this idea, Yekong was ready to sign up, but only stood up and heard a giggling. I saw Cao Mooking's little girl in the cave, and she didn't know when she came, but she was standing not far away. Although she must have taken the jade card into the ban, she approached herself so quietly that she did not find it at all, which left Yekong a bit embarrassed. Seeing her cultivation on the 4th floor is not high, but how can she approach herself quietly without being awakened by her spiritual knowledge? This little girl is a bit wicked. It's blossoming, are you okay? Yekong stepped back subconsciously. This kid is very alert. Daodu just wanted to scare him, and there was no malicious intention. Seeing that he was doing a good job of defense, it seemed that Daodu was unhappy. "It's boring, afraid of dead ghosts. Hey, our ancestor said, she didn't have time to come and let you help her pick the following spirits and bring them back by Ben." Being ironic by a little girl, Ye Kongshan smiled, but he didn't think he was wrong. Step by step, this continent is dangerous. What about the little girl will still take human life? Let unfamiliar people quietly approach themselves, without precaution, they do not know how to die. Okay, Yekong took Yuchan from the blossoming hands, and sunk into God's knowledge, and found that the names and numbers of more than 10 spirit grasses were recorded inside. "I'm going to get the spirit grass." After Yekong said it, he picked up the small medicine puppet and jumped out from the side rail of the medicine kiosk. But Duodu also followed, and said, "Our ancestor said, let me look at it, not only the leaves and even the roots of each spirit grass cannot be damaged." Yekong is depressed. This is not difficult for a strong man. Although he can do this, he must be careful. And the amount of spirit grass needed this time is not small. If it is really done like this, it won't finish digging for a day. Looking at the depressed expression of a black man, Duo said again, "If you feel that you are rough-handed and cannot meet the requirements of the ancestors, then I can help you. Of course, there is no food in the world for nothing, and no help, you have to pay a small price." Yekong understood that this little girl just wanted to blackmail. He even wondered if Cao Mooking really asked for it. "The price, what the price? You want money and money," Yekong laughed. "Hey, little girl fights with me, you're still tender." Unexpectedly, the little girl looked at Yekong, and said, "Of course it is money. Do you want money?" Yekong vomits blood, "And I'm so handsome, it's just a little bit black. Why is there no color? Dude, my capital is very strong." But looking at the little girl is too young, Yekong still forgets, say, "How much spirit stone?" 50 spirit stones. What? Yekong heard and was angry. "You are really standing and talking without backache. Do you know how much a spiritual disciple takes a month to worship?" The little girl yelled, "You're not an ordinary outsider disciple, huh? When I don't know, can't the first person in the outsider get 50 spirit stones? The first person in this hall is really not a good name, and extortion is more than others have to give." Yekong waved his hand, "I can get 50 spirit stones, but I just don't let others blackmail me. I only want to knock on others, and no one has knocked on me." Seeing Yekong's refusal, Muduo squinted his mouth and said, "Little stingy ghost, it's only 50 spirit stones, or 40 yuan. No. $30. No less. How far away is your thought? $20. 15. 10 yuan. If you don't do it, you can dig slowly." Dodo finally gave the final reserve price. Seeing Yekong still didn't agree, blossoming madly, "Hey, are you so stingy? How many 10 spirit stones are there? This girl can pull out one plant, shake the soil, not yet damage to the root system. This girl is so small, her little hands are so tender." Yekong thought about it. If this is true, there are not many 10 spirit stones. "Alright, just 10 spirit stones," Yekong agreed immediately. Unexpectedly, after receiving the spirit stones, they went to Lingtian for a mess, and the speed was astonishing. "Hey! Root, you have broken the roots like this," Yekong shouted. The little girl giggled. "Is the root system intact? I have the final say." Yekong feels fooled, no wonder this girl is going to see Lingxi work again. "Little girl, if it's not because you are young, otherwise you will kill X after seeing X, and kill X again." Ye thought angrily. However, this little girl who is a fan of wealth, let Yekong see a little hope. Yekong sat beside Lingtian and started, "I said blossoming, How many people are there in Cao Mooking's ancestral Dongfu? In the end, it was the little girl, who didn't think about it, and replied, not much, just the ancestor and the old lady, the second lady, and me, 4 people. 4 people live in such a big place, Yekong asked in surprise. Not much, Duo said as she pulled up the spirit grass. It is necessary to set up an array, an alchemy room, a spirit beast room, and an ancestor's private library. This girl is also a clever ghost. Immediately when in doubt, he turned his head and asked, what do you ask? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 337. 336 Lead the Trouble. Just ask. Yekong looked calmly, and then murmured again and again. 3 masters, a girl, can I serve them? It's so immoral. Even if you use child labor, let you have 1. Children are serving 3 adults, aren't you very hard? How could Xiaoduo know what his idea was, and laughed, it's not hard. My ancestor was in Sihatang during the day, and only came back at night. Both wives retreat, and I'm fine. No one is okay. Ye Xiangli smiled and asked, is the prohibition in Dongfu complex? What do you want to do? Want to sneak into Dongfu? Daodu's alertness was very high. Yekong smiled, and said with a wretched face, I don't want to go in. Who is not afraid of her, Cao Mooking's ancestor? I'm just wondering, how are the ancestors and their wives? Hey, they are all women. As soon as I heard it, my face was flushed, and I forgot to ask about the restraint. I took a sip and cursed, yes, the ancestor is right, you guys are full of brains and don't want good things, I won't tell you. Cut, isn't that polishing? Big deal with tools, when no one knows. Yekong snorted and stopped talking. The best way to get high-end rune paper is to go to Cao Mooking, but the ban is a problem. Yekong hasn't unknowingly sneaked into the ban. He wasn't in a hurry, anyway, there was still plenty of time, so take it slowly later, but this little girl who was greedy for money could use it. After a while, the little girl dug enough to leave Linko. Yekong also sprinkled new seeds, and then left the small medicine garden. When he came to the registration office of Napi, Yekong found that there were many people registering here. In principle, Nuaboat has a little more than half a month to go. It is time to sign up, and why is it so busy? Yekong perceives that it seems that many people have already known about the 100 places, otherwise they would not be so busy. Although Cao Guang asked for confidentiality, he also wanted to choose the best seedlings from his disciples, so he kept his eyes open for the news leak. Of course, Yekong doesn't matter, no matter how many people come, he is also confident to enter the top 100. But he sweated for Lanming and Ye Xian. When Yekong's turn came to register, Yekong was surprised to find that several of the applicants in front of him were actually the real people of Zuji. This uncle, do those uncles who are building bases also want to participate in the martial arts? Yekong asked. The monk who was responsible for the registration snorted and said, if there is a rule, you cannot participate in Napi. Listening to the kid's bad tone, Yekong guessed that this guy had reported his name. However, if this is the case, it would be unfair. How many of the monks who have been able to beat the real people who have built the base? Those 100 places are better left to the real people of Zuji. Uncle Zuji and our gas-gathering disciples are in competition. Do we have any hope of winning? You have all built the foundation, and what other foundations have you won? Yekong not only for himself, but also for several brothers a few fair words. Zujidan, the Zuji disciple responsible for the application sneered, don't be sloppy. The gas refining monks who have been fighting for the construction of Jiden have already reported their names. You just came here to sign up, not just to so what. Your disciples want to promote cultivation, why can't we build disciples? In fact, the registered gas refining monks were already very dissatisfied with this, but no one has dared to say, now that the first person in the outer hall is in their early days. The gas refining disciples immediately clamored. It's so unfair. You check the records, which year in the past was better than having a disciple? Yes. Zuji's disciples all came to participate. Immediately, the ancestors of Jadan also said that they should improve their cultivation. Our disciples are even fart. How are you uncles? Shameless. You're bullying. You guys are strong ex public opinion. You guys are better than pigs. There was an uproar in the hall for a while, and everything was cursing. However, they are not good enough to answer the question. They really do make sense. After all, Napi is nominally taking away Keaton. You have already established the foundation, and you have also won. Yun Fuzong, a quiet room. Cao Guang's ancestor is carrying a psychic amulet pen, walking around the dragon, and is making a spell. If Yekong is here, he will be surprised to find that the amulet paper used by Cao Guang is just a thin piece of paper. Wood. Cao Guang's ancestor charm is an expert among experts. He grasps his beard in one hand and holds a pen in one hand. The movement is easy and freehand. But at this moment, he suddenly raised his eyebrows and held the nib, but he still wanted to restrain and continue painting. But then he frowned again. The charm is the most afraid of being disturbed, even Cao Guang's ancestor was no exception. He was interrupted twice, and the piece of magic that had completed 7,878 was instantly turned into a pile of ashes. Cao Guang's ancestor couldn't help getting upset even when his temper was so good. He slammed the table and cursed, "Mum, let's not bother me, just come." Cao Guang was furious, opened the restraint, walked out of the stone house, and shouted to the real person standing outside, "What the is it? I'm bothering me twice? Just to make a beast charm destroyed? You can't tell how ugly Yin is, don't do this." The head ancestor was angry, and the head Zhongzihong knelt down in haste and said, "Master and uncle. It's not the disciples who are reckless, but the situation is grim and the situation is tense. The Nirantang is now in a mess. Disciples and gas refiners are scolding each other. You're going to fight at any time." Cao Guang frowned, and immediately released the powerful consciousness of Yuan Ying. At the same time he asked, "What is it?" Zhongzihong replied, "It is now said that there will be an aura formation in the section as long as the top 100 of Nuoboit can go in for cultivation, so the disciples of Zuji also go to the Niajiantang to register, which causes dissatisfaction among the practitioners of gas cultivation. Conflict." Cao Guang swept away with his consciousness and understood the situation, so he asked, "Why don't you go to mediation, but come to me?" Zhongzihong smiled bitterly. A disciple is also a disciple of disciples. The disciples go to mediate, for fear of what to say, the disciples will not be convinced. "Oh," Cao Guang cursed, "if you do well, who will disagree? I think you want to sign up, too." Zhongzihong hurriedly scratched his head. "Uncle and ancestors, the disciples have not made advances in 5 years, and have long abandoned the idea of breakthrough. Even if they enter the battlefield, they are still in vain, so they will never go to compete with the teachers and nephews for this place. Count on your self-knowledge. Take charge." "Uncle Xia," Zhongzihong said with a head and said, "although the disciples cannot break through, other Zuji disciples may break through. Since they are all Yunfuzong disciples, they should also give other Zuji disciples a chance. The base period is not as fast as the gas refining period, but if we can add a few uncles, my Yunfuzong strength will be more stable." The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 338. The New Rules. You don't understand these as I do, Cao Guang angered. In fact, Cao Guang has long reserved a place for those disciples who are likely to improve or have Dan, but now this trouble is not easy to implement. They are better than they are. Cao Guang's ancestor snorted and said, "Go and draft a fair game plan for me, and change the quota to 150. Zhongzihong also won the qualification for Zuji's disciples. He was also very happy, and quickly said, "Yes." That's it. Cao Guang's ancestors finished and walked away. Zhongzihong asked again, "Master and ancestor, what is the leader of the troubled Lihizi?" Cao Guang's footsteps were delayed, and without turning back, the voice came over, "Punish him. If you want to enter the team, you must be in the top 10. 2 days later, the announcement came out of Inner Blade Hall. Yun Fuzong's detailed rules for comparison during the year. First place, one of Dongyung's Aura-rich Dongfu. Dongfu has to be returned to Dongfu. Second place, the lower-level spirit beast of Zongpan, Immortal Bird, and the golden egg of Reverse Feather only. The third place is the top-grade magic weapon and the colorful cloud. The top 20 gas refining monks are given 1 Keaton. The top 150 are special rewards. Seeing the new reward plan, the disciples surrounded by the announcement were all excited. It can be said that this is the most rewarding event ever. Not only has Zujiden, but also Dongfu, fairy birds, and top-grade magic instruments. Oh my god! It's so handsome. Yekong has a snack, and the top-quality instrument is very attractive. I heard that it is the same as the auxiliary flight instrument. The flight speed is extremely fast. Of course, this is not the main thing. The main thing is that this colorful cloud can be turned into a colorful cloud, allowing monks to hide in it. You think, a colorful cloud in the sky, who would have thought that someone was hiding in it? This is definitely an indispensable weapon to peek into other people's wild friendship and avoid the enemy's pursuit. Besides, the fairy bird is also very good. The lower grade of the middle grade is already very high. It is still a fierce big vulture, lying on it and having a party without cover. In the end, Dongfu was naturally what Ye had dreamed of. He had already imagined in the southern capital that there was such a vibrant Dongfu, which was the home of a monk, and the meaning was different. Planting spirit grass, raising spirit beasts in Dongfu, or bringing Baiji to communicate with her every day, how cool. More importantly, those little secrets of their own are not afraid of being discovered. Although Yekong was also tempted, he suppressed it. After all, the top 3 are not so easy to obtain. His ancient treasures and magical instruments cannot be obtained, and if he really wins the top 3, then he will be named Weivua, and he should not be in the limelight. Loki, or Loki, instruments, fairy birds, Dongfu, like clouds. Clouds. Yekong continued to look down. The internal score is divided into 3 stages. 1C election. The practitioners of gas refining and building are divided into separate tests. The practitioners of gas refining will take the top 100 and the disciples will take the first 50. The 2 will be eliminated. All the disciples will compete in the same field and all the disciples will be taken before 50. In the third final, the top 50 athletes will decide the top 1, 2, 3, and 20 disciples. Yekong saw that this was a fair deal. At the time of the C election, gas refining and gas refining were used, and the number of places was also 100. In other words, as long as the refining disciples passed the election, they would have the opportunity to enter the aura, and they would not have to go to the PK with Zuji disciples. And the next rule is even more beneficial to gas refiners. The disciples during the gas refining period faced the disciples in the base period and insisted on the 2-pillar incense time. The disciple during the gas refining period was the winner. This article is also easy to understand. The difference between gas refining and base building is a big difference. Even if the gas refining is complete and the base building is 1 layer, the difference is quite large. Liangzuxiang is about an hour. If you are a real person in the base period, you can beat the unrefined gas refining period for an hour. Of course, you will be defeated. Although this is obviously beneficial to gas refiners, there are not many gas refiners who can take advantage of it. The hour is not short, and the general refining period is a minor repair. Even if you constantly manipulate the magic weapon, the spiritual power is not enough to support it for an hour. Besides, the other party is a real person who builds a deep foundation and has good weaponry. Look down. People who are not allowed to participate are, 1. Who has been danned or above, 2. Who have stayed in a certain state for 3 years and who have not made any advances, 3. Who have successfully completed gas refining can participate in the competition but do not enjoy the opportunity of special rewards, 4. The foundation building can be successfully participated, not counting, no reward, 5. These regulations are also easy to understand. If the cultivation is stagnant for a long time, it must be a bottleneck. These people have no reason to fart in the large array. The bottleneck is not so easy. Even if the aura is abundant, it is a waste. The same is true of the prohibition on participation. If you can't break through to the previous level even if you absorb more aura, it won't help. Well, our revised apprentices are still very satisfied. Yekong could not help but praise it. Yeah, even if Zuji's disciples participate in the competition, it will not affect the 100 places of our Weitang disciples. An unknown gas refining monk behind him also agreed. But another monk gas sighed, unfortunately, Brother Li, you. What am I suffering, Yekong somehow? The deputy pointed at the last row of small prints and said, did Brother Li not see it? Another, Outer Hall Li, he's a gathered to make trouble, roaring Outer Hall, cancelling all qualifications for winning, unless entering the top 10 of the final. Yekong heard that, when Dang Dang fell to the ground and groaned in pain, oh my god. The top 10 in the final, just kill me. The disciples in the surrounding area immediately encouraged, Brother Li, we believe that you have this ability, the first person in the outer hall, we believe that you will never embarrass our outer hall, step on those real people who build the foundation and let them know even if they are stronger, we will never compromise and never back off. Yekong is about to vomit blood. Are you encouraged? You are afraid that the world will not be chaotic. Originally, Yekong only wanted to get the top 100 of gas refining, but now he is forced to desperately. The top 10 in the finals meant defeating several base building disciples. If you fight outside, all kinds of ancient treasures, magical instruments, runes, and powerful spells will be released, or else the big jade will be released. What is it to build a disciple? But now that many of his methods are unavailable, it is very difficult. He can't go shirtless with the monks. Yekong decided to take advantage of half a month to prepare some powerful magic tools. In the early morning of the next day, Yekong went out again and went straight to the Surya City Yi family to buy the magical instruments. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 339. 338 Invisible Needle Rune. Upstairs, Surabaya City, Yi family firm. The old director Gao Yuanhang was pointing at a row of brocade boxes in front of him and introduced, son and mother chain hooks, Chinese products, can be transformed into double hooks when casting, 100 years of fine iron forging, the strength are called fine products, and the hook speed hurry up, you can only sell 130 spirit stones. Yekong shook his head. What the heck is it, one day at a time, when I am a meat stall. Actually embarrassed to say 830 spirit stones. The next one is even more powerful. Gao Yuanhang pointed to a brocade box behind him, the Fishan Ba Wang fork, a Chinese product, made of all steel, and the fork head was mixed with a trace of black goldstone, which was extremely hard. There are omnipotent things that can break the rocks. Next. Yekong walked away in a hurry. There are farts, there are no additional functions, The name is domineering, but it looks like a cottage. This is terrible. Gao Yuanhang was really a veteran in business, and said that his goods were leather. Open the brocade box, and there is a white spell in it, with a red embroidery needle drawn on it. Gao Yuanhang proudly said, "Brazilian brothers, don't you know what this is?" Ye Kong yelled, "Well, what's so great? The price is high and it takes less than a few times." Gao Yuanhang didn't expect that the boy knew Fu Bao. He wanted to show it, and his old face turned red immediately. He introduced, "This thing is called the invisible needle Fu Bao, but it was left by the famous Kangnan Xianxia with a smile. Refining things. At that time, the most famous one of Yuxiao Sanren took his life. This is the magic weapon of the invisible needle. Later he made the magic weapon left by him, and currently only keeps this one. Here Bao is silent and invisible when cast. Even if Fu Bao has only 1/10 of the power of the invisible needle magic weapon, it can penetrate the spiritual shield of the unfinished monk up to 100%, and can kill the invisible when facing the enemy. I don't know how to die." Ye Kong nodded. This invisible needle magic weapon is a bit interesting. Although it is too sinister, it is really very powerful. Seeing Ye Kong Dong moving, Gao Yuanhang hurriedly bewildered, without concealing the Sunspot brothers, "Our Yi family is busy recently. All of you are monks from Yunfuzong, probably they all wanted to make a name when they were at Napier, but we do not see everyone taking out this kind of rune, that is, the brothers of the blacks, come here, and everyone else will not show it." Ye Kong laughed, "Less come, do you think they can't afford it?" Gao Yuanhang's old face was red again, and the blackbird spoke really plainly. Gao Yuanhang was a little embarrassed and angry, covered his brocade box with a blush, and said, "One price, 15,000 spirit stones, do you want?" "I want your head." 15,000 spirit stones, why don't you grab it?" "There is a limit to the number of times Fubo can be used. Generally, it is used 10 times, and the time of each use is short. In other words, every time this Fubao is used, it costs 1,500 lock stones, which is too luxurious and unnecessary." Seeing Ye Kong shaking his head, Gao Yuanhang said again, "Skull brothers, 15,000 are not expensive. You think, needle-shaped instruments are several times more expensive than other instruments. I am not a magic weapon, but a magic weapon." "It's Fu Bao," Ye Kong corrected. "That's also made by magic weapon," Gao Yuanhang said again. "Since the brothers of the blacks know Fu Bao, they should know that Fu Bao was scarce and expensive. Ordinary garbage Fu Bao can sell thousands of spirit stones, and what's more, my needle-shaped Fu Bao. Besides, it is still used by celebrities. Even if you do use it, bragging about X, you can scare the other person away. Buy 15,000 spirit stones to scare people?" The old guy is really creative. Ye Kong shook his head, pointing out the biggest flaw of Fu Bao. "This invisible pin is really powerful when used as a magic weapon. A person opens his mouth with a smile, and no one knows that this spit out the magic weapon. But it is different as a Fu Bao. Who does know how long it takes for Fu Bao to start? Taking a spell, it's a meditation method, and it's a handprint. You do know anyone else like this? Are you blind as a monk?" Ye Kong pointed out the blood and pointed out the disadvantages of the invisible needle Fu Bao. Why didn't Gao Yuanhang know? He blushed again and said, "Anyway, this is a very powerful Fu Bao, the cheapest 10,000 spirit stones, you don't have to." Obediently, chopped off 5,000 spirit stones in one sentence. In fact, Ye Kong still wants this thing, although it is a bit expensive, but worth it. What if the other party knew? The opponent's spiritual shield is still unable to resist the invisible pin. Of course, this thing is still a bit tasteless. Because it has a significant effect only on Jidan, it is much worse for monk Jidan. Use 1,000 spirit stones at a time to deal with a real human being? There doesn't seem to be any need if it is really a life-threatening PK, releasing the Dementor Bell will be 100% effective for the real people who build the base. The only thing that can be used is this time Nyoboit. The Dementor Bell is definitely not available. With such a powerful Fubao in hand, it can indeed scare away some opponents. The question now is the price. Master Gao Yekong was not big or small, holding Gao Yuanhang's shoulders and said, "You don't know that, although my Lihizi is mixed on the surface, I am just a Yun Fuzong. Only disciple. You asked me to take out 1,000 spirit stones, don't you feel ashamed?" Gao Yuanhang wasn't embarrassed, and hummed, "I'm ashamed when I sell, you buy. I don't feel ashamed of being conscientious when I'm 1 year old and I want to make a loss." Yekong is depressed, this old guy is really not salty. The point is that I don't have so many spirit stones now. We don't owe credit. Yekong was annoyed, that's it, I don't want it. 10,000 soul stones can only deal with the real people of Zuji, which is completely chicken ribs, you take it. I did not expect Yekong to be annoyed. Gao Yuanhang took the initiative to come over and laughed, "Brazilian brothers, don't worry, in fact, our Yi family company is still very caring about friends, such as this invisible needle charm, Cantwe. To the Sun Sisters? Send me? No spirit stone." Yekong looked at Gao Yuanhang in doubt. The old guy laughed strangely, and Ye was unhappy in the smile. At first glance, this old guy was the grandmother wolf. Diligent and diligent, I'm sorry, but I don't want to give it away. Li is incompetent and incapable of accepting such gifts. Gao Yuanhang scolded in his heart, why is this little guy so good at her mother? If other monks heard that Fubao, which was white spirits, would have agreed to everything. The boy refused without blinking. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 340. 339 Little Sky Robbery Thunder. Hey brothers, listen to the old man. Of course, the Yi family is not giving you something in vain, and there is another transaction. As long as you agree to that transaction, this invisible needle Fubao is yours. Of course, you won't lose that deal, our store will come up with the town shop magic weapon and you. Yekong already understood what he was thinking about, and he waved his hand, stop. Master Gao, save yourself and worry, I said, Xiaofeng Wolf King has already been destroyed, you just gave me the Yi family semicolon, I can't take it. Of course, Gao Yuanhang didn't believe it, and laughed, Kuroshi brothers, don't worry, don't you want to see what the treasure of our shop is? What is it? Yekong couldn't help being curious as the old man looked confident. Please wait a moment, Gao Yuanhang waved his hand smugly, please the town shop magic weapon. Yes, the fat treasurer ran out, and after a while, brought in the red and ebony tray of ebony tray. Yekong looked around, and saw a tray in the center of the box. The box was small, slightly longer than a palm. It seemed that this thing was very expensive. The fat shopkeeper walked very slowly. He walked to the small table and carefully lowered the tray. Then he took a breath and stood aside. Looking at the careful look of the fat shopkeeper, Yekong was a little curious about the objects in the box. This is the treasure of the town shop of the semicolon. It can be said that there are not many of this thing even in the whole Kangnan. Gao Yuanhang talked, holding his chest up, with great confidence, his face covered with pride glory. Immediately, Gao Yuanhang raised his hand and opened the wooden box. Yekong quickly went to see. I saw his eyes stare at the boss instantly, then blinked, and then took a breath, and said something that made Gao Yuanhang almost dead. Your ancestors, your Yi family is really crazy, even eggs are sold out for money. The fat shopkeeper standing aside almost smiled. The box contained 2 round beads, the beads were yellowish white, and the surface was covered with a lot of irregular red bloodshots. "If you really want something," that a black man said. The fat shopkeeper looked more and more like it, and the more he wanted to laugh, but looking at Gao Yuanhang's old face calm, he didn't dare to laugh. When I saw the fat shopkeeper's left and right shoulders shaking constantly, it was like malaria. Gao Yuanhang's old face sank, and his heart said, "This blackbird is really not ordinary vulgar, but fortunately, the doorkeeper is absent, or else how uncertain is the situation. Brother Li must insult the treasures of our town shop." Gao Yuanhang even changed his name. He pointed to the 2 beads in the box and said, "This name is Xianxia, but it is a monk who refined the virtual period. Great magical powers, collected by the thunder of Xianxia, even if the power is not old, Brother Li must also understand that it is not old and boasting. Ordinary Yuanying monks can only watch the wind and escape." After listening to Gao Yuanhang's introduction, Yekong put away his joke, and looked awake at this object. "What do Brother Li think about this thing?" Gao Yuanhang asked this question. "It's a good thing." Yekong could not help nodding. "Isn't this good?" "Just kidding, this is Tianli from Xianxia. As mentioned before, the realm of monks is divided into 3 realms, upper, middle, and lower. Gas refining, foundation building, Dandan, Yuanying, and Huashan. Taken together, these are the lower realms. If a monk breaks through the transformation of God and enters the refining period, it is breaking through the realm. When breaking through the lower realm, you will encounter Xianxia, and this Xianxia Shasha is made by the collected Tianli. Think about it, the monks in the divine period may be killed by the thunder in the small sky disaster. The power of this thunder can be imagined. Even if this Shalazu only has 1/10 of the power of Tianlei, it is not difficult to hack a Yuanying monk. More importantly, the Kangnan continent is currently the most powerful X, but it is not the late Yuanying period, and no monk has crossed the sky for thousands of years, so even if someone can control it, it cannot be controlled. There is no Xiao Tianjia Li. What system do you use? How about these 2 little robbers of Thunderstorm and Howling Wolf King? Gao Yuanhang asked proudly. Compared. Yekong thought about it and gave a solid comparison. It is true that Xiao Tian robs Lazihan. For thousands of years, there are not many left, and each one can be called a treasure. But Xiao Feng Wolf King is not bad. Although the Wolf King has been a Yuanying monk, it is nonsense, but the Wolf King can cultivate and improve. What's more important is that the Xiao Tianjia Sha Thunder uses 1 less 1, but Howling Wolf King can always use it. If you can see the refining method from the Howling Wolf King, it will not even wait. All other spirit beast flags that can be cultivated can be made 1 by 1. Therefore, from the perspective of sustainable development, Xiaofeng Wolf King still has to surpass Gao Yuanhang also knows these clearly, so Yekong is comparable, and he feels fair. So Gao Yuanhang nodded and said, "In exchange for the Lord of the Wind Wolves, Brother Li will definitely not suffer, not to mention, this number also has the invisible needle Fuebao." Gao Yuanhang felt that the weight was enough, but he didn't think about it. The black-faced minor repair still smiled bitterly. "I really want to change it, but unfortunately the Xiaofeng Wolf King is really not. Although Xiao Tianjiesha is powerful, Yekong can't use it. He already has Aura Blast. What else do Thunder do? Even if the Thunderbolt is more powerful, if the magical rune uses high grade or even higher rune paper, the power is extraordinary." Seeing this boy still refused, Gao Yuanhang really believed that this boy did not have Howling Wolf King, otherwise how could he not change? Since Brother Li insists so, then forget it. Gao Yuanhang couldn't help but bemoan his face, and signaled the fat shopkeeper to take Xiao Tianjiesha away. Yekong haha laughed. Li just wanted to buy a few Nebai's magical instruments, and Master Gao took out Xiao Tianjiesha. Couldn't he want Li to give Yun Fuzong the end of the pot? Haha. Gao Yuanhang was upset, but he also laughed. The brothers Heza laughed. "Don't tell Cao Guang, otherwise he really thinks our Yi family firm wants to have Yun Fuzong. Gao Yuanhang was joking, and his heart was muttering again. There was something in this kid's words. He was saying that Xiao Tianjie couldn't use it, maybe Xiao Feng Wolf King was still there. Gao Yuanhang couldn't help but be sighed, this black magpie is indeed a master, and he has been doing it for so long. He hasn't even touched his bottom. Put that invisible needle Fu Bao first, I won't use it for the time being. Ye Kong also had 10,000 pieces of spirit stones in his storage bag. He didn't want to spend all the stones. After all, the right weapon is the right way. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 341. 3440 reference. Ye Kong also said, Master Gao, you also know the purpose of Li Mao. Don't take out those things that destroy the world. Come and look at a few top quality or superb tools, well, what the mother-in-law hook, let alone the Bawang Cha. Gao Yuanhang shook his head and smiled, the Sunspot brothers are a little ignorant. Although our Yi family is full of goods, magic spells, and magical materials, they are all inclusive, but they are better than the essence. If the Sunspots want magical tools, it's best to go to the firm to see if it is commissioned or bought a finished product, he is the first choice. Gao Yuanhang said this truthfully. The Yi family and other businesses are equal to the difference between a department store and a specialty store. There are everything in the department store. However, if you want to discuss the goods, you have to go to a specialty store. The old man said. Ye Kong suddenly opened his eyes, stood up and hugged his fists. Uncle Xie Gao advised. Uncle Gao took the initiative to say his own firm's flaws, which is admirable. Gao Yuanhang blushed. Damn, isn't this what you can't do? Pushing the business out, are you so high-flying as someone I am? Am I stupid? Ye Kong couldn't find a suitable instrument here, and Ye Kong didn't want to delay, then he left. However, Gao Yuanhang still held him, and said in a haunting voice, we confessed before the host, if Xiao Tianjie can't change Xiao Feng Wolf King, she has one last suggestion. Oh, what's the suggestion? Ye Hollow said, wouldn't it be to change her body? Wow, that's great, the shadow celebrity beauty, that figure, that look. But the old man still relentlessly interrupted his fantasies. The young master said, our Yi family no longer seeks to obtain the Xiao Feng Wolf King, and just wants to borrow some details. Oh, please believe that our Yi family reputation can't be borrowed, we can make a vow of contract, as for the price. Xiao Tianjie Ye Kong said blurtly, and after he said that he felt a little bit unscrupulous. Show it to others, don't be so hard. So Xianxia added, 1. Gao Yuanhang laughed, boy, you finally exposed. Howling Wolf King is really with you. Gao Yuanhang shook his head. Xiao Tianjie is too precious. We just borrowed some details to see if the method of refining is still unknown. You are too unkind. You ancestors will not give anyone. Ye Kong shook his head and sighed, in fact, I just talked casually, Xiao Feng Wolf King, hey, I can't die anymore. Don't laugh, Lao Gao, I didn't lie to you. Gao Yuanhang gritted his teeth, and the boy was lying in front of him, it was simply shameless. Refer to the cost, 1 invisible needle. If it is found, the Yi family can produce the same flag, and then give Xiao Tianjie a thunder. Brother Li slowly considers to find an old man. The old man hummed away. Ye Kong didn't make nonsense, the old man felt a loss, he felt even more a loss. Let me study it. When buddies are poor ghosts. Can you make a beast that can be upgraded? What is the benefit of that? Just give a little sky a thunderstorm. Besides, how do I know if you have detailed the results? Leaving the Yi family firm, he walked to the semicolon of the refiner sect in Surabaya city, and found that many of Yun Fuzong's disciples were buying magic instruments. No wonder there are only a few people in the Yi family. They are all here. Ye Kong couldn't help but sigh. He didn't want to understand why. Other monks understood it. It seems that he is still a fairy bird. Yekong is now the number one figure in Yunfuzong. He doesn't know anyone, he knows him. Hey, Brother Li has come to choose the instrument. Brother Li must be angry with us this time. Brother Li, come first. The guys in that shop are all depressed. This black-headed and black-faced guy looks like a cow X, but he can't see that he is strange. The seventh layer of gas refining and a cloud on his chest are very ordinary low-level monks. Although the man can't see through, the shopkeeper on the side is very smart. He knew at a glance that the black-skinned monk was a little doorway. The monks Yunfuzong saw him come in and immediately greeted him. More importantly, a monk who was 2 floors higher than him was called his brother. I don't know how to call friends. Yu Hao, the shopkeeper of the number 1 Zongxi moisturizer, welcomes Daiyu Xianxia to patronize Yu Hao. The shopkeeper hurried to welcome him. Oh, Senior Yu Hao. Yekong saw that Yu Hao was the foundation period that he could not see through, so he called the senior, Liuzi in the underworld Fuxian Weitang. Yekong was introducing himself, and the grumpy disciple was noisy. Treasurer, our first brother, Brother Li, doesn't know. What shop do you open? I rely on your mother. Do I have to know this black-faced birdie to open a shop? Of course, Yu Hao was just a defamation, but his face was panic-like. Oh, it was the first person of the famous Yunfuzong Weitang, disrespectful and disrespectful. This number is really bright. Yekong knew at a glance that this was purely acting. I didn't say much, just a word of humility, but all of Yunfuzong's disciples felt face. Yu Hao said busily, Li Daiyu, I am afraid that the external instruments are not suitable for your needs. Come on, please. Okay. Yekong arched his hands to the same door, followed Yu Hao's shopkeeper to the backyard. There is an elegant room in the backyard. There is a patio in front of the room. There are stone tables and benches in the patio. The surrounding is covered with green rattan. It looks very elegant. It is not like a backyard of a company, but a quiet courtyard like a small house. Senior Yu Hao, the masters and brothers were a little rude just now, and I still want to take care of them. Yekong laughed with Ling Cha. Anyway, Yu Hao smiled and asked, here Li Daiyu must order a magical instrument to participate in Gazong Nebi. Don't you know what type of musical instrument you like? I didn't think about it myself. Yekong smiled bitterly and shook his head. Without concealing the predecessors, I don't know what type of implements I want. It is better for the predecessors to take out the top quality or superb implements of your finished product, and I want to buy them. Yu Hao laughed. Li Daiyu probably seldom patronized our smelter business. Yekong shouted, how do you say that? Is there any other way? Yu Hao recounted, the refining sect is focused on refining the products, and the various offensive, defensive, flying, auxiliary and other types of instruments produced can be called first class in the Kangnan continent. However, the clever woman is difficult to cook without rice. There are many masters of the ancestral system, but not many people can find the material of the system. Therefore, most of the finished artifacts sold in this case are popular items. Most of the following items are good. Occasionally, there are some top quality artifacts, which are also bought early. If Li Daiyu needs top quality or best quality artifacts, he must prepare them by himself. The materials, according to the characteristics of Tiancai de Bao, will help you to make a magic weapon suitable for use.